Hello everybody, it's Jama here and I'm really excited to share this video with you on how I organize, how I resize, and how I print my photos at home for scrapbooking. Now, I do everything from my iPhone and I'm going to share my workflow in how I organize my photos into albums so I can easily find them when I'm ready to print, and then how I resize them to print them smaller for layouts such as this, where I have a lot of 2x2s, a photo that's slightly bigger than 3x3 or a little smaller than 4x4. I often print 3x4s, 3x3s. You can print all kinds of sizes. And so I'm going to show you how I do that, and then how I print them on my Epson PictureMate 400 to then use on my layouts. Now, the process that I show you and that I use, you can also use to send them out to print without having to find somewhere that will specially print 2x2s or 3x4s. You can print everything as a 4x6 and send them to the photo developer that way. Now, if you don't use an iPhone, these apps that I use are also available on an Android. And if you use a computer, be sure to check out my friend KATY'S video. I will link it down below because she shared her workflow in how to use a free program on her computer to print her photos, resize them, and even add some journaling. Now, my video is a collaboration with my friend Erin over at Crafty Concepts with Erin, and she uses some of the same ways that I do, but also some different ways. So you'll get some different tips from her, and we're both sharing our best tips and tricks because we've used these methods that work for us for quite some time. And so I hope that you'll pick up some tips that might work for you. So be sure to check out her video. I'm going to link it at the end of this video, and she's sure to inspire you as well. So let's go ahead and dive in. So to start out, I wanted to show you how I organize the photos for creating a layout such as this. This is a layout I created for my channel recently where it was celebrating me as a mom with my kids, and I'm going to do a similar type of layout for my husband with photos of him with the kids. So I'm going to go through and find all of the photos that I want to use for this layout. So I'm going to go into my Photos app, and I've already got the app open to my favorites. I typically go through all of my photos after an event or any photo that I take, and if I really like it, I mark it as a favorite. So you can do that by, when you're in the photo, you tap this heart right here, and then I already know that my very favorite photos are in this favorites album. I want to go to the very top of this album. So to do that, you just tap at the very top of the screen, and that takes me back to the very first photos that are in this album, and they are chronological. So I'm going to hit this select button at the top, and that's going to allow me to select multiple ones at once. And I'm going to scroll until I find ones of my husband with my kids. This is going to be starting off with just my daughter because my son came along later. But I'm just going to go through and I'm just going to choose all of the ones that I think I might want to use for this project. And I'm just going to keep going and doing the same thing. But for now, for this purpose, I've got 3. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit this arrow, and it's going to show the ones that I've selected, and I'm going to scroll down to where I see Add to Album. I'm going to hit that. Now I've already started this album, but in order to show you if you don't already have your album, you're just going to hit New Album, and you're going to title it. So I'm going to title this Father's Day Layout and hit Save. And then it's going to create that album and add your photos to it. So I'm going to keep going through. You can do this multiple times. I could just hit select again and keep going and keep finding the photos of my husband with my kids and go through, and then just keep doing that. And then the next time you're going to hit add to album, and it's already going to be there. So you're just going to hit that and add it to your album. So I'm going to go through and add all the photos I want, and then we'll be back. So now that I've gone through all of my favorites and I've added them to my Father's Day layout album, I've actually got more photos in there than the Mother's Day layout one. It must be because I'm usually the one behind the camera, even though he doesn't take selfies. But another way, if you don't have all of your photos marked as favorites, I wanted to show you another way where you can go through and just find a bunch of photos from a person, at least in an iPhone. I'm not sure if an Android has this option, but there's this search down here. and I have the people set up. So Apple automatically recognizes, it has facial recognition. So once you set up a person and Apple recognizes their face, you can search by that person. So it knows that that's Chris, it put it up here. You can search also, you can add, I could add Chris and Tyler if I wanted to find just photos of my husband and my son, where we were. You could search baby, summer, all kinds of stuff. It's so smart. And most of this stuff, like the location and baby, it just knows automatically. I didn't set that up. So I'm just going to put Chris and I'm going to hit search. And it's going to show you sort of a snapshot of the photos, and it's telling you it's got 2,532 photos. You can hit see all, and then you can scroll through all of them that have the person that you've searched for here. So there's some here I've noticed that I didn't have in my album, like this one. So I'm going to go through and select the ones that I missed originally and add those to the album now. Now I'm in my Father's Day layout album. I've got all of my photos added here that I want to, and I'm going to exit out of here, and I'm going to go now into part 2 of this video, and that is resizing the photos. I use this app right here. It's called PicFrame, and this is available in Apple and Android. I'm not sure about Google Pixel, but we're going to open that. I believe that back years and years and years ago when I first got this app, I've been using it for a really long time. I paid for something, it probably was to remove the watermark, but you can see that some of these layouts are locked, so I don't have a completely pro version of this app, and you don't need that. You just need the basic watermark removed version of this app for this to work. So right now you can see all of these, and it goes even further. Not all of them are locked past here, and there's just tons and tons of layouts that are available. So there's certain ones that I use the most, but first what I want to do is I want to choose the photos. So right here is where you can choose your album. Right here is all the photos and videos that I have recent. So I'm going to get out of the recents, I'm going to tap that, and I'm going to find my Father's Day layout. And for some reason it doesn't put these in the same order. So I scrolled all the way down until I found Father's Day layout right here. And now it has just all of the photos that I chose for this project. So the first thing I'm going to do is I know that there are a few of these photos that are my favorite, and I'm going to make them 3x4, so a little bit bigger instead of 2x2. So those, I'm just going to go ahead and select all of those, and that is this one and this one here. And instead, since I know I want them to be portrait orientation, I need to change the way that this is oriented. So this is portrait orientation for the 4x6. I want it to be portrait orientation for the 3x4s, which means it needs to be landscape orientation for the 4x6. And the way you change the orientation is right up here. 2:3 ratio is 4x6, but we want 3:2 ratio, which is 6x4. And then that gives us the portrait orientation of our 3x4s. And obviously you can fit 2 3x4s on your 4x6. So I can only start with 2 at once. So I'm going to tap that, because up at the top here, that's where you've got all of your options. So some of these, like I said, are locked. I don't want those layouts anyway. You can keep going and see even more. And but I just want this one, this first one right here that is 3x4s. I'm going to select that. Typically it will put in a border. So when you first pull it open, it'll have some borders here. I had already removed them, so it wasn't showing. But to remove the white borders, you just go down here under border and remove the border size down to 0. And then you'll swipe that back down, and then you get rid of your white borders. You can print with a white border if you want, but since I'm going to be cutting these down, it kind of messes up the ratio because the border is going to be the same thickness in the middle as it is around the edges. So once you go to cut that down the middle, it takes that down, but you can sort of play with it and make that work for you. But typically I like to just print no borders, and then I add my borders with white cardstock. So the nice thing about this is you can go in and kind of move it around, since this photo is landscape originally, and I'm going to print it portrait. I'm going to line it up to make sure that they are all centered and nobody's cut off. And then this one, whoops, so there's lots of options when you tap on it, but I just want to have it selected, and you can pinch and spread your fingers to zoom in and out. So just like this will make it zoom in and out. And so that is a nice, easy way to crop your photos before you even print them. So I'm going to go ahead and I like it like that. So in order to save this, this is now 4x6. I'm going to, just like you would almost anything else in Apple, to export something, you hit this little arrow down here and you'll hit save. Now, the reason I choose this app over a lot of other collage apps is because it will export high resolution. And down here on this export screen, you have all of these options. So this is just going to be low resolution if you want to just share it on social media or email it and have it be a small file size. I always keep it on save and print. That way it will save it as high resolution, which will give you a good print when you print your photos. And then you just hit save, and that will save it to my camera roll. So now when I go out, go back to my camera roll, it's right here under recents. And so I will just keep doing that. So I'm going to show you how I do the 2x2s. So we're going to go back into PicFrame, and we're going to go back, and that will take us back. It saves all of this. So it saves your Father's Day layout to be open, and we are just going to reset it, and that will deselect these ones that I had already selected. We're going to go back up, and I'm going to choose the ones that I want as 2x2. And if you kind of do the math, you're going to fit 6 2x2 layouts on one 4x6 print. So I'm going to go through and choose 6. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've got my 6 chosen, and you can see that up here it automatically changed the options that you have to all of the collages that will fit 6 photos, and there's all these different layouts. So you've got lots of options, but I just want them all to be 2x2, so I'm going to select this one, and it will make 2x2s. All right, so same thing, we're going to go in, and I'm going to kind of center some of these and zoom in where I want them zoomed in. This one I want a little zoomed in. This one I want a lot more zoomed in, and it's really handy to be able to do this all ahead of time before you print. So same thing, I'm going to go down here to this arrow. It's already set to save and print because that's just the setting I keep it at. It saves from the last one, I believe, and then I will hit save. And then that will be in my camera roll. So I am just going to keep doing this with each one. And if you wanted to print 4x4, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to choose this one. This is one of my favorite photos. And I don't want to choose the one, so you've got options up here. It usually gives you, you can do it as a 4x6, and then it also placed it here if I wanted 2 3x4s. And that's the one I'm going to choose, and then I'll show you why. Okay, so now that it's in here, this is 3x4, but I want it to be 4x4, and I'm going to have to sort of eyeball it, but you can put your finger here. When you tap it, it will tell you how many pixels are on each side. So 178 pixels and 176 pixels. So I want to move it, I think probably about there, 240 pixels wide. It's probably not quite exactly 4 inches, but it's close enough, and we can crop it if we need to once I print it. So I am just going to center that where I want it. And then I'm just going to leave this blank. It's just going to print white on my photo because it's going to be blank when I go to print it. But if you were to print a 4x4 print, they're going to charge you more, way more than a 4x6 print. So if you collage it like this first and then go to print it, even if you send it to a lab to print, as a 4x6. It's going to cost less, and all you have to do is crop this off right here. Another way to get a 4x4 photo without wasting that edge is to choose 3 pictures. So let's do these 1, 2, 3, and then this option right here, you've got the one bigger photo on the left side and the 2 smaller photos on the right. It's not the right size right now, but remember we can change that. So we're going to tap it and we are going to slide this over until we see 236. Now we know is exactly 3 inches. So now this side is 236 pixels, which means that this over here is going to be 2 inches, and we can center those and zoom and crop like we did before. And then you can save this as your 4x6 print and print it, and then you still get your 4x4 photo, and then you get some 2x2 photos as well. Now you can also do 3x3, and sometimes it's a little bit of guessing, but let's go in, and what I would do is I would choose 2 photos. I'll do this one and this one. So now I can zoom a little bit, know that I have plenty of room up here to crop, and then with this one too, I'm not going to zoom in at all. I have a little bit of room to crop on the top and the bottom to make that a square. This brings us to part 3 of this video, and that is printing. I prefer printing at home because that gives me more flexibility. When I start a layout, I don't always know the size and the orientation and all that. So this just gives me on-demand options. It is a little more expensive to print at home, but I figure I don't have as much waste because then I'm not printing photos that I'm not going to use anyway. So I have the Epson PictureMate PM-400. I absolutely love it. I used to have a Selphy. I changed to this because the Selphy eventually lost a lot of color and it just wasn't printing as well. I'm going to show you how to print the collages that you made onto your printer. So I've already got this on. I already have some 4x6 paper loaded. This will print 4x6 or up to 5x7. I have used a couple different kinds of paper. I have the Epson paper, and I like that. But I've just often used the Canon paper, and I buy it in bulk like this. It comes in smaller packages inside. This is 400 sheets, and I typically use this photo paper plus Glossy 2 for my prints. I will link this down below as well as all of these other supplies. I use this same thing for 5x7 as well. I'm just printing 4x6s today, and what I'm going to do is go to my recents because that's where all of my collages were saved. And so if I tap on any of these, we will see my 6 2x2 photos from my collage saved into my camera roll. So I can print just one at a time by hitting the same arrow, export, and then I'm going to go down to print, and I'm connected to Wi-Fi on my phone and my printer, and it's already on, so it recognizes the Epson printer, which I've already set up. And the only thing I'm going to change on here is media and quality. It puts it at normal, and I want it to be best. But that's the only setting I'm going to change. The rest of them can stay the same, and then I would hit print. Now, if you want to print all of them at once, you can do that too. So I'm going to go back to the camera roll, and just like we did to add to our album, I'm going to hit select, and you can tap multiple at once and tap as many as you want. I'm just going to do 3 so it doesn't take forever, and I'm going to hit that arrow, and I'm going to scroll down to print, and I am going to go back and change this to best again. I'm going to just go ahead and hit print. So now the printer is going to think a moment, and then it is going to pop out my prints. So now I've got some 4x6 prints with my 2x2 photos on here. I hope you can tell what great color it has. I think the color from this Epson printer is much better than my old Selphy printer. I'm really, really happy with it. So then all we're going to need to do is trim these to 2 inches. Something to keep in mind, if they're not exactly 2 inches, because sometimes they're not, then when you're in the collage app, you can go in and make sure that each of these columns is 118 16 pixels wide. Remember how we could move that around? And then that will make sure it's at exactly 2 inches. And here's what they look like cut to 2 by 2. They are a great size to still see detail but fit tons on your page. So I hope you learned a lot in today's video. Be sure to check out ERIN'S video, which I will have linked right here and in the description below, for lots more helpful tips to print your photos at home. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming scrapbooking videos, including what I do with these photos. Thanks for watching and have a great day.